All right, and welcome back to the Prometheus Cast Assessment Podcast. This is the second of three podcasts for this season, where we talk about the contestants that will be playing on Prometheus, Season of the Oracle. Today, my co-host is Season 1 alumni and frequent co-host Tiki. Tiki, how are you today?
I'm doing all right, Casey. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while. So it's great to have you on for yet another cast assessment, and hopefully we'll see you on for a future podcast as well. But let's kind of get right into it. So this time we talked about four different contestants that'll be competing in this upcoming season. We'll start off here with. Sorry, I had to split my notes. Dream. Dream is
Okay.
24 years old. He is a warehouse worker. And he comes from the Discord side of the org world. For those who are watching who might not know, orgs are online reality games, much like Prometheus is. But the Discord side, at least from my experience, tend to be more a little bit like text based as opposed to like face to face, which is something that you'll pretty much find with any of the Discord players that have been casted for the season. So we already talked about Caleb on the past podcast, and now we are talking about Dream. And we also have another Discord player. So let's talk about Dream. What did you think about Dream after watching his interview?
Well, a couple notes here. If you remember, I don't come from Discord, but I did most of my experience, pretty much all of my experience in orgs before I played Prometheus was in text-based ORGs. So I very much kind of come from that space. I actually made Final Tribal Council twice, I think, playing that format, which, as you know, I feel like that format for me a little bit like Prometheus is just a lot, as far as like the social dynamics. So, but it's interesting. I bring that up just because like it is going to be an adjustment for him because from what I can tell about this guy, he seems very well adjusted to the game. He seems like he has a really good mind for it. But let me tell you, like I said, as someone with experience in the text-based world, Prometheus is a whole different beast. And there's like, I mean, if you are not just up to speed on this game, like if you're not jumping at it like with both hands on deck, you're going to get eaten alive like I did. So I'm curious to see. I think he's got the skill set for it, but I'm curious to see if that's going to be any sort of detriment to his game as just that kind of adjustment. And the other thing I wanted to note is that I do like how in his interview he very much mentioned that he is a warehouse worker, but he kind of wears all these different hats at his job. And I thought that was very interesting, and that could definitely lead to a good skill set within the game to kind of be a jack of all trades, getting to kind of like mesh with different personalities and such.
Yeah, absolutely. Dream is I kind of have a hard time being able to truly like peg him as a player because he's very honest, he's very transparent about
Mhm.
his entire history. I mean, he's had some really bad plays in his org career. He's had some really good plays. He's been labeled as villain of the season. He's had worst move of the season. He's made it to, the end at different points. But there is something that is very passionate about him. It seems like the stuff that he really likes, the things that he really locks in on, he goes all in on. He tells a story about, I believe he said he was in high school, but he was a basketball player. But because he's on the shorter side, which
Mhm.
he says he's like, I think he said he was like 5'8" or something like that, which I guess for basketball players probably is shorter. But he said that because of that, he had to work extra, extra, extra hard, and it was literally to his detriment. He got
Right.
really badly injured, and it like ended his basketball career. But you know what? That just shows you that he does have this massive drive. But then you see that in his prior games, his I can't remember the exact scenario, but he full force one in, trusting people, and then ended up having like the worst move of the season and like got voted out. And I can't, I guess I can't remember the exact details of the move. I wish I had actually written that down. But it seems like he could be anything.
Mhm.
He could be first, he could be last, he could be somewhere in between. I mean, it's a matter of is this a group of people he's going to connect with, and we're going to see him go full force into this game that's going to take him far? Like, I don't know. He could literally be anywhere for me.
And of course, having just that single word name, which, proud champion of that. I'm kind of the pioneer of that when it comes to Prometheus, but it does kind of add to that enigma, though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I kind of like those one word nicknames, you know. I don't think anyone that we've had it feels, forced. Tiki in season one, we got Bloody in season
Hmm.
two, and now we have Dream.
I
Um,
really like that running theme that we have.
yeah, yeah. And am I missing anyone? I think that's it.
I think we've just had one per season. I mean, I don't know everyone in season three off the top of my head, but
Yeah. No, I'm fairly certain that's it. Even looking back at the prior seasons.
mhm.
But anyway, so going back to Dream though, it's interesting. I think potentially Dream's biggest downfall, because it seems like, once again, he comes from the Discord side of things and he's played pretty much text-based things. I don't think he's ever played a video org. Is like, so it seems like he's a very social person, but he might lack a little bit of self-awareness. He, tells a story, which was kind of cool. He said he played an org with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend had to like
Right,
pretty much
right.
call him out and say like, yo, I don't think you're realizing what you're saying to people. So like that's kind of for me the biggest like flag is like, is that going to be Dream's downfall? Um, if it's not, if he ends up, meshing with the right group of people, I could definitely see Dream being like a driving force. From everything that I have gathered, I think the villain side of him almost might have been like a one-off scenario in his org history, because I feel like he's just too open and honest to be a villain in every game. There is something about him I'm definitely drawn to. There is something that is kind of endearing, and maybe it is his openness,
Yeah.
his honesty. I think that's probably what it is. But yeah, I mean, I wish the best for Dream in this upcoming season. But I think that's more or less what I have to say about Dream. Do you have any final thoughts on him before we go on to the next player?
I think I'm good. I'll definitely, like I said, definitely as someone who's only done the text-based thing, that's the main thing I'm kind of looking out for with him is if he can adjust to it better than I did. Because it's kind of funny because we both have the text-based ORG thing and the single word name thing. So,
Yeah.
this guy could either be a spiritual successor to me or a spiritual successor to Bloody, which would be definitely a better case scenario for his name.
But also, I mean, too, with Bloody, like it becomes her detriment. She becomes too
It
big of a
does, but I'm just
character.
saying she got a lot further than I did. Give her some credit.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. I love Bloody. But yeah, I think that's it for Dream. So let's move on to our next player. We have HaNa, who is
Okay.
21 years old. She is an assistant kindergarten teacher. Very interesting thing about HaNa. So aside from the fact that she's never played orgs, she has watched season one and season two, and it all stems from when she was a camp counselor. She was a camp counselor with none other than season one alumni Anna. So very interesting that like she just happened to like, and I don't know what their relationship is. I don't know if they keep in contact, if like they just happen to be friends on Facebook or follow each other on Instagram. And Anna
Right.
posted about it, and she's just like, that looks interesting. Let me watch that. Oh, they're casting for season three. Let me apply for that. Uh, Very interesting about HaNa. But what do you think about her?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's an interesting connection. And to have someone who's sort of like already a fan, it's like I kind of feel like with her, we could maybe be getting a little bit of like, the kind of like the Anna thing with the working with kids, but then also a little bit of a bloody side of things where she's coming in like really prepared. So I don't know, it could be a best of both worlds situation. Also, she's Casey, I gotta tell you, man, at this point in my life, like I'm 35 years old. So like talking about like 21-year-olds, it's surreal. It's surreal to talk about people like that much younger than me who are like, okay, let's go. But
Yeah.
no, I definitely think that she has the potential to do really well. But I don't know, it's interesting because I feel like the working with kids thing it can either go one of two ways, right? Because it's like you definitely have to have a lot of patience, a lot of stamina to do something like that. But at the same time, your social life is kind of like, revolved around children in some ways. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
I kind of feel like does she have that, and especially because of how young she is, like, like does she have that kind of social game in her? She seems more like an outlast person than an outwit, if that makes sense. Like I feel like she's got a lot of stamina. I'm just not sure if her I don't know why I'm zeroing in on the age thing. I'm sorry. It's just I'm about to turn 35, Casey. I'm an old man.
I mean, I get it. I'm now in my 30s as well. So, but no, there is something very interesting about HaNa. The kid thing, I think you're right. You're picking up on that. Like it could go either way, but I think
Mhm.
I get really good vibes from HaNa. It's funny, and I can't help but think of Anna, and I thought the same thing when I conducted the interview. Is like, okay, there is she'll be a fresh face to the org scene, and I feel like because she's prepared, she definitely has the chops to go far. She says in her interview that she what does she say? Something along the lines of like her personality is a compilation of like a wide range of interests and activities. And so
Right,
between
right.
that and being prepared and even just being like, I saw this random thing my friend posted or my old coworker posted, and I'm just gonna do it. That sounds adventurous to me. That sounds like if she can truly understand the gravity of the situation she's putting herself in, I don't see why HaNa couldn't go far in this game. But it could also be a thing of like she has no clue what she's getting herself into and be a very early boot. Uh,
Well,
you
I
know,
was going to say, Casey, once again, I go back to my experience. Like, pretty much what tanked my game was that I was so razor focused on the in video, like, break room element of it that I literally wasn't looking at my phone. I wasn't even paying attention to the messaging part of it. And if you've got one of those things like not down right off the bat, it's very hard to recover from that. The game just moves so quickly. So
yeah.
I definitely think she has the skill set where she could pick up on all of it. It's just like I said, it's in the moment when it's happening. Speaking from experience, it's like if you don't pick up on one or two things, you could just get steamrolled.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just like looking over my notes right here, and I feel like there is a very sweet side to her.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about how like she could be a potential good support system for people, because of her wide range of interests and, her working with kids because she had that patience. Like I think socially she'll do really well. I don't get a ton of vibes from her strategically. I think that's going to be the hard
Right,
point. And I
right.
think that's where I'm going to be like, can she pick that aspect of the game up? But she does say that because she had watched both seasons, she's familiar with the game mechanics. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking she'll do really well socially, but as for the strategic side, I'm not really sure. One
Yeah,
little
that's like I said, that's the vibe I got as well. Kind of like I said, more of an outlast than an outwit sort of scenario, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. But
But just I do think that she can go far just based on that social game though. And
absolutely.
and remind me, like Anna, it was her first game as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. And she
And
made
I,
it
I
to like
honestly think like
six.
her being taken out was kind of like one of the big moves of the season because if you remember, I thought going into the merge that she was like in a crushing position to win. Like, so I definitely think that she, accomplished a lot in that one season as a total newbie. So we could definitely be looking at a spiritual successor to something like that.
Yeah, should be very interesting. One last bit of information that I wrote in my notes. It was very interesting. We always ask the contestants, about like real world scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
We want to. We really need to see how people are going to react to certain things because we don't want to necessarily throw people in unprepared or really throw people in that could be very toxic. Because we have had in
Sure.
interviews before where people have just straight up said some really crazy things. And so people tell on themselves, and then, obviously we're
Oh,
not going to cast them.
Jesus.
But a very interesting thing, when we asked about like the real world situations, if they could come into the game, she, said a very interesting quote, which was, if someone starts to bring some really shitty behavior and attitudes in, towards like bullying or anything like that, she'll be the first to bark and the first to bite,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
which should be very interesting. Someone who might stand, on her principles, which to me lends to be a more honest player, someone who's not going to potentially be very manipulative. So, but yeah, any final
Yeah,
thoughts on HaNa?
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
All right. So next up, we have one of the craziest characters I think I have had the pleasure of interviewing in now 3 seasons of Prometheus. We have Luke. Luke is 19 years old. He is as he, I believe, describes it, a thrift store merchandiser. He is like the young kid amongst old women, I believe is what he also said. Uh, he used to be a gravedigger at the age of 16. He originally was from England and now lives with his family in Canada, I believe in the British Columbia area.
Hmm.
But oh my gosh, does this man, kid, whoever, have such crazy high golden retriever energy. I am so entertained by him and am so excited to see how his game plays out. But I've got to hear what your thoughts are on him.
Well, it's kind of funny because when I worked at a thrift store, I was very much in that same position, including like most of my coworkers were old retired ladies who were volunteers, and it was kind of like, I was basically like everyone's grandson at that job. So I relate so strongly to that element of him. What I cannot relate to and what I am excited to see is just like this dude must be one of the most extroverted people that you have ever cast across the 3 seasons of Prometheus. I mean, I think hands down, he might be the absolute most extroverted person because generally speaking, I think you do a good job of kind of like casting like across the board. Like I'm definitely a little bit more introverted, even though I have like I have an explosive side to my personality, but it mostly comes out in confessionals, as you saw in the game, but I think that just across the board, this guy is just like you said, he's just like a total firecracker.
Yeah, yeah. He says that he describes himself as well as I guess when he was in high school as very charismatic, and
Hmm.
I think it comes through because of that energy. I think he's playful. I don't see him as a bad guy at all. Like I feel like it is all very like innocent energy that he's putting out. And because as you did say, we cast like a wide range of people, Luke will either be his own worst enemy and piss people off by just not calming down,
Yeah, yeah.
or people are gonna love him. They're gonna love him and want to work with him. Um, I kind of hope to actually see. I mean, I wish everyone the best of luck. I truly do, but I kind of hope to actually see him just annoy people. Um, because I think it makes for good drama in a way that doesn't bring like overly serious drama to the game. But he even says that like at one point in his interview, he says something along the lines of like he's not really like a liar or anything, but if he does lie, it's just to like troll people, so he's kind of just like, I think he could like prod, but in a fun way. But it's the question of, is it going to really annoy people? I have
Mhm.
so many notes on Luke, like far more than like anyone else that I've done any of these podcasts with. But I want to hear more about you and what you thought about his interview.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that he's got the potential to be sort of the bloody figure where he becomes like the big figurehead of the tribe he's on and kind of the center of attention. both for his tribe and the other tribe, like just in the interactions and the challenges and stuff. Honestly, I really think that's his trajectory. I think he's got his ticket pressed to the merge already. I don't think there's any way that he's going to fall behind in the social stuff. Obviously, I think everything that I did wrong, he's going to do right as far as just being absolutely on top of it when it comes to that stuff. But like you said, I really do think that when it comes down to day 2, that's going to be where all eyes are going to be on it. Like, there's no way that this kid is not going to be like public enemy number 1 come day 2 just based on that energy alone. I mean, everyone could love him. Everyone in the cast could love him, but they know they have to get him out. So that's going to be his big challenge.
Yeah. And I think the bloody comparison is actually pretty good on that in that regard, because it could be a thing of like, because the game moves so fast and the social aspect is very important, assuming he doesn't rub anyone the wrong way in the first day, I see no reason why he doesn't make it to day 2. And then if he does make it to day 2, is it a question of people being like, we've got to get this guy out immediately? There's just no way this kind of energy can stay in this game.
Right.
So does he end up being first boot, or is he someone that gets strung along, like Bloody, where it's like, okay, we can get her out. She's that name that's out there, or he's that name that's out there. And then he just accumulates votes until it's like, all right, he's got to go now, like no more further. But, we do see that there is another side to Luke. And I think the social side to Luke is just so overpowering. We've already spent 4+ minutes talking about it, that there is a strategic side to him. He is pretty honest. I think he's not stupid enough to not know when to lie when he needs to, or to play things a little bit more sly. But a very interesting aspect is he hosts his own org. I believe it's called Eradication. Should be a Discord game. I know he streams it on Twitch, but too as well. But with his game, he has to pick up on things. He has to pick up on all these various strategies. It's the same thing with me. Hosting all of my orgs over the years has actually helped me translate my game into both live games and also other orgs. I don't play any of them anymore, but you pick up ways that people are phrasing things, and you pick up plays, and it helps you kind of notice your own faults. I think he has enough awareness, and I think he definitely knows how he comes across, that I could actually see him playing things very strategically. I just worry that if he ends up starting to troll people, if that is something he does, period, that it could bite him in the butt,
No, definitely, especially with a game that moves as fast as this does. Like that first time that you go to tribal council, you're looking for any reason to vote someone off. So if this guy is playing around at all, like trying to get under people's skin at all, and just the group doesn't vibe with it, we could be looking at like a super big over the top character going out first on his tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I will say, hopefully that does not happen, because I think he is bound to bring entertainment. But we will definitely see. Oh God, just looking at my notes, like I said, I just have so much. One thing that I also want to highlight is, or two things actually. One, he does have a wide range of interests. He talks about the sports he plays, like he plays tennis and he plays soccer. He's very creative as well, and he likes music, whether it's creating music or playing the piano or singing, even though I believe he describes himself as a bad singer. But another thing too, kind of even going into the social and strategic side, is he says that when he plays other orgs, he often gets ranked really high on the power ratings. It tends to be 1 or number 2, but also that he tends to get, I guess, production or fan favorite. So I'm very curious, because I've already know how he's going to be socially. I'm very curious how he's going to play strategically. But do you have any final thoughts on Luke before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, at 19 years old, the kid just clearly knows his way around the camera. And like you said, that production side of things, that's definitely going to help him as well. I don't know, man. He really could be a force to be reckoned with. I really do think it's going to depend on his tribe a lot, though. I think that's going to be a big variable. I think that if you have a lot, and now remind me, it's going to be a schoolyard pick again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's
It's
what.
going
Yeah,
to, without dipping into the spoilers, too
sure,
much,
sure.
it is going to be very similar to season two. Not exactly, but
Okay, fair enough,
similar
fair
enough.
enough. So what I'm trying to say though is that production didn't pick out the tribe. So
No.
it could be lopsided. It could be he ends up on a tribe with a bunch of people in their late 20s, early 30s. And if that's the case, there's not really a lot he can do to fit in, is just culturally sometimes. Sometimes it's just how the dice rolls. But that's a very unlikely scenario. I'm just saying it's a possibility. I do think that the most likely outcome for him is going to be that bloody spot where he is just kind of like, I think he's got like main character of the season written all over him, and you obviously agree. So
He has to. He has to. With an interview like that, I can't imagine him any other way. But
mhm.
I think he will definitely go down. He definitely has to go down as probably one of the biggest characters of Prometheus history. It's only three seasons, but
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
Right. So moving on to our final contestant, we have Myra. Myra is 26 years old. She works in information technology. Never played an org before. Loves art and traveling and TV and is creative and is a foodie. Very interesting aspect of Myra. Her interview is a very short one, but I think it's kind of straightforward.
Mhm.
It is one of the shorter interviews, but I think part of that stems from she's never played an org before, so she doesn't know how to necessarily answer the questions in a way of like, okay, this is myself in this. But she does talk about traveling quite a bit in her interview, and she wants to meet people from around the world, and she hopes that she can create friends and social connections to be able to visit these people. And she had just come back from a trip to Iceland and a trip to Ireland, and she has no issue navigating and
That really stuck
socializing.
out to me. That bit right there really stuck out to me.
Yeah, and I think also I say this hesitantly. I believe Myra might have actually been a part of the Coast Guard, some sort of military service briefly. Can't remember if she mentioned that in her interview or on her application. But between that, I am sure she's come across all sorts of different people. So Myra, I think socially could actually perform pretty well. Just a matter of, who, and like anybody. And even as we talked about Luke, it's choose the group that she ends up going with.
Mm.
Can she create those initial connections? Because that traveling aspect of her did really stick out to me in the interview. And I love to travel. That's part of the reasons that I also, play these orgs is to meet people from all around the world. And I've met a number of people that I play these games with, both internationally and here within the United States. But yeah, what do you think of Myra?
Almost think she's kind of like the polar opposite of Luke, just in the fact that she is very, very normal. But I say that as a compliment, though, because like I really think that she could be just a total stealth threat. I truly do think so. Just looking at it on paper, she comes across just very like there's nothing particularly that jumps out at you, but I feel like just like you said, that travel experience that she has, just I could see her just being someone where they kind of write her off just based on her lack of experience in the games, but she could pick up on stuff very, very quickly. So that's kind of where my head's at with this. I really do think that she just jumped out at me just for being someone who is just, seemingly just a very well adjusted person that I don't think is going to get like invested into the personal drama and everything. And
Yeah.
I think that's going to play very well for her because
Oh
Luke is
yeah.
obviously someone who, and I don't mean to just like shine a mirror up between her and Luke. I don't mean to compare the two, but I'm just saying like when you look at someone like him or other characters, it's just like that they're going to attract drama, and I feel like with her she's almost the opposite, right? It's like she just feels like just very affable, very pleasant, very agreeable, and I just
Oh
think
yeah.
that is really going to serve her well as long as, and I keep saying this, as long as she can keep up with the speed of the game. That's the big thing, especially as someone who is new. Fuck off. Sorry.
You're good. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Myra even says that, she's a very open person. And I think that helps, when you are meeting anyone from around the world, you're just being open and being social with people. She does describe herself as an introvert, but she is that way. But she says she does like to listen as well. But the very interesting thing, as you were saying, like, can she, keep up with the game, is that this season, we actually have a lot of new people to orgs.
Hmm.
Of the 8 people that have been revealed at this point, Andy's only played one game. He's pretty new. Danielle's new to the org scene. HaNa's new to the org scene. She's new. And we even have at least another 1 or 2 in our cast that will be later revealed. So we have a lot of newbies. I don't think, unless you are really just fucking lost in this game, I don't think it's going to count any heavily against one person versus the next. But I think she has this sort of training about her because of her travels that could actually lend really
Hmm.
well. And when you have characters like Luke, um, maybe being a little bit more subdued in this situation actually really helps you.
I mean, look at Erin. I think Erin is like the perfect example. And I called her very early on as kind of like she was kind of like the assistant coach to Bloody early on, and then kind of like made that pivot, got Bloody out, and then, had enough social capital to go on to win. So, it is very possible to be a quiet player early on and still kind of like make those moves that gets you far and gets you that win.
100%. It's almost like playing the middle game. Like you want to be
Mm.
in socially, but you don't want to be the star of the show. And then when
Yeah.
the time's right, you get that player out and you sneak your way in. And so I wish all the players the best of luck, but I especially wish that luck on all of our newbies this season. We almost have a really nice balance of veterans versus newbies.
Could have had a fans versus favorites, Casey.
I mean, are we that far into our history to have that? So, um, but
Oh
yeah,
my god.
so you're okay. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how she's going to play. And I wish her the best of luck. But do you have any final thoughts on Myra as well as the rest of this podcast before we conclude?
No, I think I've pretty much said my piece. I'm just very excited to see Prometheus back up and running. It's been quite a hiatus, but I seriously think that, and again, I'm just going to kind of like kiss your butt a little bit here at the end. I think that season 1 was fantastic, and I think you upped your game production wise in pretty much every way in season 2. Season 2 was just a narrative force. And I'm very looking forward to, kind of like the twists and turns that you put into your game. I really like how you have a core foundation to what the game is, but you're not afraid to be malleable and make adjustments as you go along. So yeah, I'm just really, really looking forward to just kind of like seeing the game play out. I truly think that you have the best. I mean, I don't really seek a lot of stuff out, but I mean, your editing is just very, very on point. So very much looking forward to a new season.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, this season, little bit of an insider here for anyone watching. This season has caused me more headaches and heartaches and trouble. But I think, and we will start to give you all the behind the scenes details of this in a future podcast once we start to get to the deep dives and the
Mhm.
episodes air, and we'll give you that insight. But I think with all the work that I put into this hiatus will be worth it. I've also worked with numerous artists to create all new graphics,
Awesome.
all new stuff that we will have not seen in prior seasons. I think it's going to be worth it in the end. So I hope everyone enjoys that aspect. And thank you for the high praise, Tiki.
Of course,
Um,
of course.
on that note, do you have anything you want to plug before we conclude this?
I honestly I've been really lazy about updating it recently, but I've been doing stand-up comedy recently, over the past like 6 months or so. So if you want to go check out my Instagram, that's at Tyler Linder underscore stand up. I'd really appreciate the follow. And if more people follow me, I actually might be motivated to be like, hey, I should actually make some content again. Yeah.
I didn't
So
even know you were on Instagram, so that's news to me too. I will be sure to follow right after this. But on that note, thank you again, Tiki. Every time you're on, I love your insight and I appreciate you coming out to do this with me. But yeah, thanks for everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Bye.